Daniel Ricciardo is leaving McLaren as we speak and is going back to where his peak career was registered. According to all the news and reports, Daniel is returning to Red Bull, and it seems though he has made his mind to stay behind the doors, working on promos and stunt work rather than racing in a lower-end midfield team like with Haas or Williams in the 2023 season. You may think that Red Bull is taking back Daniel after 4 years of separation to prepare a race seat for him, but Red Bull was quick enough to downplay those prospects, and Ricciardo himself said that he only wants a deal which essentially puts him in a top team in 2024. That means there is more for us to go through in the Daniel Red Bull situation, so make sure to comment, like and subscribe. Turn on notification bell to be made aware of our future video uploads, as we have plenty for you to keep watching during the Formula 1 off-season. Daniel Ricciardo is set to be offered an off-track role at Red Bull, and Dr. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's advisor, speeded the procedures and announced the news of Daniel Ricciardo joining Red Bull as a third and potential reserve driver, even before a contract is signed. Ricciardo will be our third driver, Helmut Marko told Sky Sports. We have so many sponsors, we have to do show runs, so of course he's one of the most high-profile and best suited. Now, we understand that the negotiations between Ricciardo and Red Bull is over by the time they packed their bags on Sunday evening at Abu Dhabi, and we believe that an official announcement is imminent. Red Bull team principal Christian Horner confirmed Helmut Marko's statement, but told media that a contract has not been signed yet. Christian Horner said, "We haven't signed anything yet, but Helmut in his enthusiasm has obviously announced it. I guess that means that Daniel will be joining us, unless of course he chooses not to sign it." Daniel Ricciardo's future has been subject to excessive speculation since he agreed to leave McLaren a year before his contract expired. To say it in short form, McLaren wanted to vacate Ricciardo's seat to make way for Alpine's reserve driver, Oscar Piastri, next season. Daniel refused to accept a racing seat from the lower midfield teams of the likes of Haas and Williams, instead mentioned that he preferred taking an year off racing to recover from a demoralizing 2-year stint at McLaren, and he is targeting a top team return in 2024. Lewis Hamilton once in a press conference told that Ricciardo is too good to be a reserve driver, but the 8-time Grand Prix winner has decided that the reserve role is the best for him at this time. Ricciardo is believed to have had some discussions with Mercedes, but chose to return to the team which provided him with the 7 of his 8 Grand Prix victories. Expect Red Bull to take Daniel Ricciardo on promotional events and put him behind the wheel in some show cars in some events. It will not be all marketing stuff on Ricciardo, as he is set to conduct simulator work for Red Bull, so for one, he is ready to drive should the need arise, and second, Ricciardo will be working on car development as well. We are very active as a team, we do many show runs and events, and to have a driver of Daniel's profile and history with the team, within the group, is only an asset for us. It means that he keeps in touch with F1 and will obviously be using him on the simulator as well, and he'll be attending potentially some events of course, if he does sign the contract. But I'm sure that will all become clear in the event of him signing a contract, told Christian Horner. Would Red Bull sacrifice any ultra-rare sessions like tire testing and certain practice sessions is unknown and is most unlikely, as Daniel is not a Formula 1 rookie, but those might be the only available options for Ricciardo to get some running done next year. All of this brings up one question: why is Red Bull interested in a driver who left them 4 years ago, a driver who has not showed performance and consistency over the last 2 seasons? Christian Horner has stated details of Ricciardo's contract clearly, and stated that a racing seat at Red Bull won't be made up for Ricciardo. No, Daniel's contract is very specific, for a specific reason. We have a contract with Checo for the next 2 years, said Horner. What the partnership of Max and Checo has produced has been phenomenal for us. So with this said already, what does Ricciardo want with this team, instead of guaranteeing a full-time racing seat elsewhere in the lower midfield teams? Let's start from the point where Red Bull and Christian Horner believe that Ricciardo's form at McLaren is just an aberration, and Ricciardo is better than what we have witnessed in the last 2 years. Daniel's a big character. It's been disappointing to see his performance this year. I think he would have wanted a lot more out of the season. But he's still one of the biggest names and characters in F1, and he obviously has a history of being a Red Bull junior. Christian Horner believes that Daniel Ricciardo is much better than what he has shown at McLaren and thinks the 2 years of Ricciardo at McLaren is a total anomaly. Let's be honest, let's just say that Red Bull has to put Daniel Ricciardo in for either Max Verstappen or Sergio Perez. Considering his McLaren performance, it would be totally underwhelming. But there is something within the Red Bull camp that suggests, with the right tools provided, Ricciardo can be that high-quality driver as he was before in Red Bull. If this proposition is real, and if Ricciardo delivers according to Horner's expectations, he will be one of the best reserve options Red Bull has had in their entire Formula 1 venture. And potentially if Ricciardo delivers high-quality performance, other teams on the grid will keep an eye on Ricciardo. But all this depends on if he gets to drive a Formula 1 car in 2023, which is a limited or a non-existent option for Daniel. As for the Red Bull marketing side, Horner is right to believe that Daniel Ricciardo is one of the biggest names of the sport, and as we talked before in this video, Daniel could boost the marketing part of Red Bull while maintaining tabs on Formula One with this reserve driver role at Red Bull. Don't think this is it. This contract between Daniel Ricciardo and Red Bull has more to it than it meets the eye. Let's go back by about 2 to 3 weeks. You guys do remember that small conflict which rose between Max Verstappen and Sergio Perez at the Brazilian Grand Prix. To give a small recap, Checo and Charles Leclerc were fighting for the runners-up position in the Drivers' Championship of the 2022 season. To make sure Sergio Perez has that points advantage over Charles Leclerc, Red Bull used team orders to swap driver positions, but Max rejected the call from his race engineer by not giving up his position to Checo. This ignited a small spark between the Red Bull drivers as we witnessed an exchange of words between them and the team. The spark that ignited between them seems to have been resolved, and we saw that the drivers were good and seemed to have a healthy relationship at Abu Dhabi. But the Formula One universe has suggested, more than on one instance, that Verstappen has more control over the Red Bull team, so if tensions rise between him and Checo, he would have Sergio replaced by Daniel. Damon Hill claims Verstappen has quite a lot of power at the team and could force a swap between the two drivers if tensions continue to rise. Hill said, "It could be quite an interesting one. If you think about the problems they've apparently had between Max and Sergio. Let's say the toys go out the pram and there's some sort of fallout there, Daniel Ricciardo could be in prime position. He could be in a good position coming back and having learned a lot in other places. I'm sure Sergio's contract is watertight and he'll be there a long time. But if relationships deteriorate, sometimes it becomes unworkable and suspicion is Max has quite a lot of power within that team. And this seems to be the elephant in the room. Sergio Perez has a Red Bull seat until the end of 2024, and Max Verstappen has his Red Bull seat sealed till 2028. Therefore, the option for Ricciardo to race at Red Bull would be if Verstappen or Perez leave Red Bull, or if they are pushed out of their racing seats. But Horner was quick enough to dismiss this prospect by bringing up Daniel's contract details and Red Bull's current driver lineup. Horner said, "The 5-1-2 finishes so far this year, the Constructors' Championship that we hadn't won for 8 years, is a phenomenal achievement, and obviously the combination of both drivers' points contribution. The two drivers, they do have a good relationship, they've raced well for the team, and we've got no reason to see that being any different tomorrow or for the duration of their contractual commitment to the team thereafter." And as for Ricciardo, he has said that he will be on the sideline in 2023, and is expecting him to be in the best of positions to return to the F1 grid in 2024. That does not necessarily mean that Ricciardo will be returning to the grid in a Red Bull. This Ricciardo situation plays nicely into Red Bull's hands to handle its drivers, as we saw it happening in Alpine. The Red Bull team can use Ricciardo as a hypothetical threat to keep Perez in line if tensions between the current Red Bull driver lineup sparks at any moment. So the bottom line is, it doesn't matter if Ricciardo's a long way from being seriously considered for a Red Bull race seat again. The very fact he's rejoining and will be part of the team makes him a key part of the driver lineup narrative in 2023. But what do you guys think? Is Daniel's move to Red Bull the best option he has, or does he have any other openings elsewhere to stay connected to Formula One? Let us know in the comments section down below. Click that thumbs up button if you liked this video. It really helps to push our content out to more people. Want to know why the Max and Perez Brazil controversy is not over yet? Click on the video box shown on your screen now. Thank you for watching this video, and I will catch you guys on the next one.